Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming today. I just will let you know the information I prepared to share with you is very brief, so this won't take very long. And then there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers, and we can discuss whatever you are interested in. To begin with, I'll just want to briefly tell you about Incenergy and our product, and then we'll get into the cost of cooling, which is the subject of today's webinar. So the reason Incenergy exists is an interesting story about how it all began. Our founder, Barry McConaughey, had a successful career as a software entrepreneur and had a very successful exit. And found himself in a position in life where he could sort of do what he wanted to do. And so he was traveling with his family, sort of celebrating his good fortune. And that included a trip back to his home town in Canada. And he went and took his children to the glaciers that he remembered visiting as a child, and had a big impact on him, and was fairly devastated to find that they had receded a full 5 miles from the place where he used to find them. And that and other things in the news, and at the time, this is about 10 years ago, really caused an environmental awakening in Barry, and he started researching into what the environmental problems are and what their solutions might be, especially their technical solutions. So, hold on 1 second. He sort of started experimenting technically, even in his own home. He got solar panels installed at his house, and he also changed out all the light bulbs to fluorescent light bulbs. And being the engineer that he was, he kept meticulous records, and he paid attention to the effect this had on his utility bills. And he was fairly shocked to find out that the return on investment on the energy saved from the light bulbs far exceeded by orders of magnitude the return on investment of installing solar power. So he became convinced that technology, in particular software technology, could go a long way in conserving electricity. And it's all well and good to generate clean electricity and green power, but can just stop wasting so much of the electricity we already have. And that was what Incenergy was founded to do, and the problem that we were founded to address. And in particular, we're focused on saving electricity in commercial buildings, especially older, mid-sized, smaller commercial buildings. And this is a market that just was not served by energy management systems. And this is a market that, with new technology, software technology, is now very affordable and convenient and easy to put technology into those buildings that can start saving money right away. And not only saving money and electricity, but also turning out to make facility managers' jobs a lot easier. So in a nutshell, Incenergy is a retrofit wireless energy management system, and we will come into a building and pop off all their programmable thermostats and replace them with Incenergy's wirelessly communicating thermostats, and plug in a gateway, and now that building owner or facility manager can manage that building remotely from the web or from their phone, and they can now, if they don't want to heat and cool on Thanksgiving, they can just, with a couple clicks of a button, make sure that they're not heating and cooling on that Thursday, as opposed to going around to, let's say, 50 programmable thermostats and changing them and then changing them back again. Also, because we are in constant contact with those HVAC units, Incenergy customers can find out about failing units before they get a hot or cold call. And so this leads to happy tenants, and this leads to proactive facility managers and building engineers that don't have to be in a constant reactive state. They can also address, if there is a hot or cold call, they can address it remotely. They can get on their phone, their laptop, their tablet, whatever their browser, and find out look at data in the zone and find out if there really is a problem without having to get in their car and drive to that building, or worst case, roll a truck. So they can do analysis from wherever they happen to be and really address these hot and cold calls in real time, and they can also just prevent them in the first place by receiving email alerts of problems before the tenant is pretty angry and making contact themselves. So Incenergy has expanded from its initial management of thermostats. We also offer lighting controls and electricity monitoring. But today we're going to focus a little bit on cost of cooling. So I'd like to go on to that now that you kind of have a baseline to understand what Incenergy is. So what we found was as Incenergy created functionality and was deployed in production, our facility managers that use the product were saying, well, this is great. I love all this data I get now. I can find out that this unit was cooling yesterday for 5 hours. But what I don't know is, what does that mean? Is 5 hours bad? Is 5 hours good? Is this good or bad? I don't know what to do with this data. And the more we looked at it, we said, well, why do we want to know so much about what our HVAC is doing? And the reason is, it costs a huge amount. In many regions, summer air conditioning costs account for the majority of the utility bill. Here in Texas, where I am, it can be up to 70% of the utility bill. So that's why we're interested. And so what we wanted to offer our customers was a way to understand the cost of that HVAC. So ideally, to really know the cost, we would want to set up electricity meters on those HVAC units, and we certainly, do offer that functionality. But boy, if you have 60 rooftop units, that's a lot of meters to put in, and that might not be something you want to do. So we realized the thermostat itself is kind of like an electricity meter. Because we're monitoring it so closely, we know exactly how much time it's been cooling, and we know that every time that HVAC is running in the cool state, we can pretty much estimate what that's costing and how many. Well, we can estimate the kilowatts, and then we can estimate the cost. Because it's pretty well known how much an HVAC system, how many kilowatts it pulls when it's on. So we started, that's the reason why we built this cost of cooling feature. We wanted to offer our customers something in units that they cared about, and in the end, the units that we care about are dollars. So that brings me to doing a little demonstration of the functionality. So here I am on our demo system with a bunch of thermostats, and I'm going to go over to our Reports tab. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, sure. I hope that's a yes. All right.
Yes.
So I'll go over to my Reports tab, and I go over to my cost of cooling report here. This is a section where I select my devices. So right now there's 82 devices in this example. This is a demo environment. So I can use my filter. Let's say I want to only look at the ones at this center view building. So I filter on that, and I select all those devices. And I save that selection. I have 8 devices selected. Because it's a demo system, the data's from April. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of April and get a big chunk of April, and I'll generate my report. And here we have the device, how much it's cooling, just a bar chart to give you kind of a visual idea, how much that cooling is costing you per HVAC unit, how many kilowatt hours were used to generate that cost. Now the facility manager at CenterView might look at this and say, this just doesn't seem right. Oh, look at this, I've got my tonnage are all the default value 3 tons. I happen to know that, let's say, 2C1 and 2C2 are not 3-ton systems, they're actually 5 tons. So we've added the feature to let the user adjust the tonnage of systems in order to get a more accurate report. So again, I'll go over here and use my filtering, and I'll select those units, and down here I can set my tonnage 5 tons. I'll save it for that unit, for 2C1. And maybe I'll pick a different one. Let's say that, hold on, sorry. Let's say that number 28 is actually a 1-ton unit. It's a small unit. So you can go in here and model the tonnage of each of your units, and then we can come back to the report, and we can rerun it with the, now that we've set our tonnage to a more accurate value. And we can see here now that that brought our cost way down with the 1-ton unit, and the 5-ton unit, you know, the cost has gone up, even though it has relatively the same number of kilowatt hours used. And if this still doesn't look right, it might be because this default utility rate is not accurate. So this is also modeled in our system. So we can go back again to the Smart Devices tab. And we can select, because the utility rate is going to be the same across the entire location, you can just select any of these. It doesn't really matter which one. And let's say, unfortunately, we don't pay 9 cents, we pay 12. We can go ahead and set that here. I'm going to see who has joined us. Or is anybody new on the call? Okay, I'll continue on. I heard a ding. So go ahead and set our utility rate as 12 cents. And we can go back and run our report again. And we can see that the costs are now higher. We have our new utility rate. We have our tonnages modeled. If we want to export this to, you know, do some further number crunching, you can export this to a CSV file. And that file will be there for you. It has pretty much the same data in it. So I wasn't kidding when I said it was going to be pretty brief. And let me see if anybody has some questions that we can go into any aspect of the system that you'd like to talk about.
No, thank you. Does
that, no questions from you, Mohammed?
No, thank you.
Okay. What about you, Mark? Is there anything you can send me a chat if you like? Is there anything you'd like to know more about Incenergy or the system as a whole? Okay. So Mark asked, we have various HVAC units by type and age, and how is this applied? Well, in the current model, it's not applied. We did basically leave, we want to expand that as we go. And I'll go into that. We do have a place here for SEER. Currently, it's not used in the calculation, but in the next generation, we expect it will be. And I think age is another aspect we'd like to model, but that hasn't been in the current release, which leads me to want to tell you a little about Incenergy's software business model. So the way we operate is all of our customers, our software is hosted in the cloud. So every 6 weeks or so, we release a new version of the product that has new features. And every customer, even if they signed up a year ago, next time they log in, they'll get all those new features. And our goal is to be very market-driven. So if you were a customer, you'll be hearing from me, and I'll want to know, you know, what's most important to you. Would you like a more accurate cost of cooling report, or are you more interested in some other features, you know, having to do with your mobile phone? You know, there's a long list of things we want to do. So what we see here today is sort of a first version of the cost of cooling, where we have taken into account the unit's tonnage and the utility rate, the effective utility rate, I should say, because we all know utility bills are more complicated than that. But we could foresee that this report and this feature could undergo an evolution and gain sophistication over time. Does that answer your question, Mark? Good. Anything else, Mark or Mohammed?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mark and Mohammed. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. And please feel free to contact Incenergy if you want any more information at any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.